Welcome, welcome. I am so honored to be here at the Spiritual Growth Summit. This session is titled Living Oak Tree Strong with Mustard Seed Faith. I pray you will find encouragement and strength from these words. Now, before I get started, I want to remind you to be sure to check out the other sessions available this week. The ones I have already watched earlier today were so powerful. God has truly guided Marnie Swedberg and brought together some amazing women to speak into your lives. And many of the speakers have offered free gifts. Be sure to click through on each session to access them. My free gift tonight is a workbook on defeating the lies of negative self-talk. As I was praying about this evening, so many stories, thoughts, and ideas came to my mind that I struggled with narrowing them down. I could come up with something to cover the whole week. Relax, I promise. 25 to 30 minutes max. I often wonder how God could possibly use someone like me in his kingdom. Who am I? Well, let me start by introducing myself. I am TerryAnn Porter. I am a speaker, author of 2 knit and crochet Bible study books on Amazon, and a woman's life coach. I would describe myself as a type A person, a perfectionist displaying OCD tendencies and a little bit of ADD. I grew up in church. I don't know of a time I didn't believe in God. I married at 18, had 2 beautiful girls, and by our 6th anniversary, was in the midst of a divorce. My church peers let me know I was no longer welcome there. I remarried. Not long into that marriage, I discovered he was plagued by an addiction to pornography. Because of what pornography does to a person, I was left humiliated and discouraged to the point of one day considering suicide as the answer. On the day before our 11th anniversary, at the age of 37, I was a widow, for he had just experienced a massive heart attack. I don't know why. I don't know how, because I was not going to do this again. But God brought another man into my life. And with his prayers, encouragement, and a great deal of patience, we will be married 22 years in just a few days. Now, don't give up on me yet. God hasn't. I don't respond well to emotional presentations. I look at facts. If something in a story being told to me doesn't make sense, I ask questions and I research to find those missing pieces. And you may not believe this, but some people don't like me. I can't imagine it myself, but it is true. I can be too direct, too private, too opinionated, too loud, too quiet, too little, too much. God has done a lot of inner healing in my life. I look back and I don't recognize the person I was at 18, at 37, at 50. Now, despite always believing in and knowing that God is God, I think I have often struggled with faith. I would look at women in my life who seemed to have it all together, demonstrating their strong faith by the way they lived. I could see it. I wanted it. I look at them and I think they are strong oak trees. And me, I'm a flailing seedling. But I learned oak tree strength starts with mustard seed faith. Matthew 17 tells the story of a man coming to Jesus, asking him to heal his son. Jesus heals the boy, and his disciples ask, well, we tried. Why couldn't we do it? Jesus replies, because of your unbelief. For if you have faith as a grain of a mustard seed, you can tell this mountain to move, and it will. The same reference is used in Luke 17, where Jesus is talking to the disciples, and he responds to their request to increase their faith. Jesus says in verses 6 and 7, if you have the faith as a grain of a mustard seed, you can tell this tree to pluck from its roots and plant at the sea, and it will. Now that's a powerful seed. Word pictures and physical references help me to understand something better. So I got some mustard seeds and I pulled one out. Now the seed is so small, you probably cannot see it in the camera. I had to place it in this little vial. I don't even know if you can still see it. It's just so small. These things are so small, and when I look at them, I think, this is often how I feel. I feel small, especially around those oak tree strong women in my life. And Jesus says that faith this small can move mountains. As a speaker and life coach, I encourage women to defeat the lies of negative self-talk by beginning with a new perspective. Well, it's time for me to start practicing what I preach. I need to start with a new perspective, and that perspective was from the mustard seed. Now, first, I had to forget that I don't like mustard. Give me mayo. Give me ranch or poppy seed dressing, but leave off the mustard. Jesus didn't say, add mustard to your faith. He said, look at the mustard seed. I explored the Bible for women displaying mustard seed faith. You see, I always considered that if their story was in Scripture, they were oak trees. But with a new perspective, I read on and found some tidbits I had not noticed before. Now, the first woman that caught my attention was Mary, the mother of Jesus. Now, this woman was truly oak tree strong. Mary was a young girl engaged to a man in the village. She was frightened. She was visited by an angel of the Lord. The angel told her that she had found favor with God. He then went on to explain how she would be the mother of a child, and that child would be the Messiah. It didn't matter that she was a virgin. Her response was, let it be according to your word. She gave birth to Jesus in a stable after traveling by donkey while in labor. She raised Jesus from infancy to manhood, later had other children. She watched Jesus perform miracles, preach, die on the cross, and raise from the dead. You know the story of Mary. But let's look at it a little closer. What did Mary do? Mary lived a life that found favor with God. Though frightened and having no idea what the future would bring, she said, whatever you say, I will do. An unmarried young girl, pregnant, she endured public humiliation. She went on a journey, riding on a donkey while in labor, delivered her child in a stable, no hospital care or midwife. She protected her child from a murderous king. She raised Jesus to adulthood, stood at the foot of the cross during the crucifixion. She was there at the empty tomb. She kept all these things and pondered them in her heart. Luke 2:19. It's a strong woman. But what did Mary not do? Mary did not reject the calling by saying, I'm not worthy. No, she said, I've never been with a man. Mary did not tell anyone what she knew. She knew that Jesus was the Messiah. She did not get a monthly visit from the Lord every month to check on things. Hey, Mary, how's it going? Are you getting enough rest? Do you need a box of diapers? Mary did not doubt, even when things did not go as she expected. She did not give up when things did not go as she expected for the Messiah. She didn't know when he was born that Jesus would die on the cross. But she was there, and she did not run away. The oak tree result of Mary's life? Her mustard seed faith allowed her to accept the challenge without knowing what the outcome would be. Her faith grew through the life of Jesus. She was there with Jesus through his ministry. And even at the cross, she was there and stood firm to the promise Jesus made when he said he was coming back. It was her mustard seed faith that allowed her to live oak tree strong. Okay, that was Mary. After all, she was the mother of Jesus. Of course she was oak tree strong. Then I looked again at some other women who did not impress me as oak tree strong until I reread their story with a new perspective. We are introduced to a woman called the harlot Rahab in Joshua 2. Wow! To be introduced not by your name, but by your sinful occupation. The story goes that God has told Joshua he would be taking the city of Jericho. Joshua sent 2 spies to go to the city, look around, get a feel of the place, and report back. These men found lodging at a house along the city wall that was owned by the harlot Rahab. News of the spies in the city spread to the king of Jericho, who sent word to Rahab to deliver these men to him. Rahab hid the men on the roof and told the king's men they weren't there, and that in fact she had actually seen them leave the village. The king's men headed out in pursuit of the spies. Rahab then went to the Israelite spies and told them how she had heard of the many things their God had done. Then she went and said to them, and she was telling them about the reaction of the people in the city. They feared they were going to be destroyed. In verses 11 to 13, she says, "As soon as we heard these things, our hearts melted. Neither did there remain any more courage in anyone because of you, for the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above and on earth beneath. Now therefore I beg you, swear to me by the Lord, since I have shown you kindness, that you also will show kindness to my father's house, and spare my father, my mother, my brothers, my sisters, and all that they have, and deliver our lives from death." She helped the men escape over the wall of the city. Now they told her to place a scarlet cord in the window and to have her family inside her home when the attack occurred. If she did so, they would be saved. So she brought her family together. And when God caused the walls of Jericho to fall in chapter 6, only Rahab the harlot and all who were with her in her house survived. Then Matthew, in listing the lineage of Jesus, tells us in chapter 1, verse 5, Boaz, who married Ruth, was born to this woman, the harlot. That's quite a story. Not fully knowing who this God was, Rahab had a mustard seed of faith in him. So let's examine the story. What did Rahab do? Rahab lived as a well-paid prostitute. She trusted the spies and saved their lives. She protected the spies by lying to the authorities. And she believed in the God of Israel. What didn't she do? She did not turn the spies away or turn them in. Culture would have had her do so. She didn't quit. Even when she was pressured by the soldiers for information, she continued to protect the spies. She did not reject the Israeli faith when she was allowed to live with them after the fall of Jericho. She did not continue in paganism. And she did not quit when her life was completely changed. The result? Her oak tree strength. Because of her oak tree strength, she saved her family. She married an Israelite. She accepted and embraced the Jewish faith. Not easy when you consider her background, her culture. And she was listed by name in the lineage of Jesus Christ. Paul reminds us in Hebrews 11:31, by faith, The harlot Rahab did not perish with those who did not believe. Her mustard seed faith led to oak tree strength. Let's look at one more woman. Now, we never learn her name, but her mustard seed faith led her to oak tree strong living. Meet the woman at the well in John 4. If you don't know the story, Jesus and his disciples traveled to Samaria. Once there, Jesus stops to rest near the well while the others go on to find food for them. It's about noontime. The sun is high in the sky and it's very warm. No one seems to be around. And then a woman comes to the well with her water jug, and Jesus asked her for water. Now, she's totally stunned. This man is speaking to her. Israelites don't speak to Samaritans, yet the two of them talk. During their conversation, she tells Jesus that she believes he must be a prophet. She sees there is something special here, but she's not quite sure what it is. During their conversation, he tells her things about herself that a Jewish traveling stranger would not know. Like, for example, she's been married 5 times and is now living with a man who's not her husband. He tells her, too, that he is the Messiah that she said she believes is coming. She leaves her water jug behind and goes running into the town, calling out to the others, "Come and meet this man. Do you think he could be the Christ?" The story goes on that many of the Samaritans of that city came to see and believed in him. Let's break down the story. What did this woman do? Well, she went to the well at a time when others would not be there. Some scholars assume that because of her lifestyle, that perhaps she was an outcast. She was shocked that a Jewish man would speak to her. They do not talk to Samaritans. She recognized the power within Jesus. In verse 19, she says, "Sir, I perceive you are a prophet." She had messianic hope, which she expresses in verse 25. She knew the Messiah was coming. And then she called the people of the town to come and see this man. What didn't she do? She did not turn away when Jesus asked for water. And she did not lie when Jesus spoke about her life. So what about her oak tree strength? Because of her oak tree strength, she left behind more than her water jug. She left behind her old life. She told others about Jesus, and she caused many to believe. In John 4:39, we are told, "And many of the Samaritans of that city believed in him because of the word of the woman who testified that he told me all that I ever did." I look at these stories and I see myself. I can relate to Rahab. No, I haven't been a prostitute, but even with mustard seed faith, I have sinned. I've made decisions contrary to God's word. I've gotten caught up in cultural and social ideas. Yet I so wanted to protect those around me and break away with that oak tree strength. Upon reflection, I found that I can relate to that woman at the well. No, I haven't had 5 husbands and now living with one who's not my husband. But I'm on my 3rd marriage, once divorced, once widowed. I'm an outcast. After my divorce, my church family wanted nothing to do with me. They told me that we were no longer allowed to attend anymore, and they even told my 5-year-old daughter that we could not be called a family because her father did not live with us. I've been rejected. I've been hurt. I've made wrong decisions, and I've faced difficult choices. And like Mary, I want God to look at me and find favor. When he tells me I am to step out and share my story, to tell others of God and how he has strengthened me, I want to say to him, "Let it be according to your word." Can you relate to any of these women? Your story doesn't have to be exactly like hers, but your story can include the same emotions, rejection, desires. How about you? What do you do? Well, you stay in conversation with God through prayer and studying His Word. You step out when prompted. You hope. Ponder His Word in your heart. Hold tight to God's promises. Believe that you are worthy, like Mary. Save your family by following God, like Rahab. Show others the Christ, like the woman at the well. What do you not do? You do not give up when the soldiers are pounding on your door. You do not turn away. You do not turn to cultural and secular salvation. You do not say, I am not worthy. The results of your oak tree strength will allow you to stand in adversity, not knowing the end result, but knowing in the end, God is glorified. With your oak tree strength, you will believe in the future like Mary. You will show others the true Christ like the woman at the well. And you will create generations that give God glory like Rahab. Despite all my sinful ways, I am worthy. I am a child of God, the King of Kings. You are worthy. You are a child of God, the King of Kings. So, what is your mustard seed story? You have one. You have an oak tree story as well. Are you ready to share it? Your story may not be the same as these women in the Bible. It may or may not be the same as mine. No, your story is your story. And your story is someone else's survival guide. You have a story to tell. That woman you look up to as oak tree strong has a mustard seed story too. Talk to her. Learn her story. Oak tree strength starts with mustard seed faith. I don't have to have faith the size of an oak tree. I don't have to have faith the size of an acorn. I don't even have to have faith the size of a mustard plant. I just need to hold on to faith the size of a mustard seed. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to do everything right. I don't even have to be liked by everyone. I only have to say, let it be according to your word. I am a child of the King of Kings. If I have even a grain of mustard seed faith, nothing is impossible. Ladies, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I pray you will take your mustard seed faith and stand oak tree strong as you continue to live as God's child here on earth. For more information or about me, or even to reach out to me, check out my website, TerryAnnPorter.com. Be sure to download the free workbook on defeating the lies of negative self-talk through my speaker event page. I would enjoy connecting with you. I look forward to hearing about your mustard seed story and about your growth into oak tree strength. And now you can take a quick break before the next session. In the meantime, continue to live oak tree strong with your mustard seed faith. Good night.